Hello and welcome to Spooning with Mark Wogan. Now, regular listeners and viewers will notice there's something slightly different this week. We are in a different venue. It's a lovely venue just in London's Marylebone, and it is Homeslice Pizza. Now, how have we ended up here? I own it, and that's why we're here. But there is another reason that we are here, and that is to blindfold my guest and feed them something that they think they love and something that they think they hate. But also, my guest today, I suspect, might enjoy a pizza. So we'll get to that later on. Now, who is my suspect, my victim, my very, very special guest today? Well, this man, he knows a little about food. He's been around the world eating. He has eaten more than all of us tied together in his time. But he is here today to discuss his fantastic new show, and we will get to that later on. But please, will you give a very warm spooning welcome to none other than, and it is an honour to invite this man into my restaurant, Adam Richman.
Thank you. Thank you for that very thoughtful introduction.
Well, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, I do have, like many men, I have a slight man crush on you.
Well, thank you, brother.
Because of your body of work. And, you know, you kind of changed food programming for a lot of people.
That means a great deal. I'm very thoughtful. I followed an Australian sort of chef influencer type guy, and little potty mouthed or whatever, but very fun to watch. And I just followed him, and he just sent me the most lovely message. And I think, you know as well as I do, I mean, whether you're opening a restaurant or starting a piece of visual content, you kind of do it in a vacuum and you don't know how it's going to reverberate back to you. And to hear that, to have the London Times once call me the General Washington of the American food revolution in England, I was like, I will take that. I've not thrown any tea in any bodies of water, but I do take that as a badge of honor.
For people who have lived under a rock and don't know what we're talking about, we are talking about Man versus Food.
Yeah, that was my first show.
Which was the first show which brought you to everybody's attention. I mean, you've gone on to do many things since, but I mean, it was, in many ways, a challenging show.
To say the least, and I appreciate the play on words. Yeah, I mean, so for people who don't know, Man versus Food was a show I did from December of 2008 through early 2011, and we did 3 seasons of this show where I would go to a city, go to 2 iconic eateries, and take on some sort of iconic eating challenge that had, I don't know, approached kind of a mythic status in that town, and sometimes, God?
Who? No, hello? We're here. Now, we'll have to grin and bear that, because we are in a working restaurant.
Which is fine, no, yes. But in all fairness, so that's what the show was. And then I would do a ridiculously spicy challenge, an absurdly large thing. Sometimes there would be a crushing time limit. So there's Man versus Food for anyone who hasn't seen it.
I mean, some of those challenges were beyond ridiculous.
All of them were.
I mean, the one with the ice cream, where you had
the one in San Francisco, the kitchen sink?
In the kitchen sink, where halfway through you had to eat some chips because you needed something savory.
Well, that was the thing. It had one was creamy, one was crunchy, one was sweet, one was salty. Yeah, it was just because you do get something, and it sounds like over-intellectualizing it. Like sometimes like you hear people speak about really quotidian things, and they get really heady with it, and you're like, dude, please. But there is a state of being, one might say, called flavor fatigue. And you have so much of anything, no matter how delicious it is, and it just sort of flattens out, and you don't taste it anymore. So, for example, in Philadelphia, I did this massive cheesesteak challenge, and this is a restaurant I love. Cheesesteaks that are spectacular. The owner, I mean, truly, it's Tony Luke's cheesesteak, and he treats everyone that comes through there like family, and he knows everyone from the homeless guys that come from Panhandle. I mean, he's just a lovely human. And this cheesesteak was like a pole, like for pole vaulting. It was massive. It was like a caber toss. And truthfully, I was like so grateful for like hot sauce at the end just to change it, because after a while,
but plenty of occasions where you weren't grateful for hot sauce.
Oh yes. I only lost one hot challenge, and it's because the owner tried some chicanery. But literally and figuratively, in the end, the hot sauce did win. Who's hungry now? Who's got an appetite now that I brought up Hickory Hole? Who's hungry?
Well, we've got plenty of food for you today.
Oh, smash it.
And if let's go back to the beginning, because you were born 74?
Correct.
In Brooklyn.
Technically Manhattan.
Technically Manhattan.
But I'm raised in Brooklyn. But yeah, in Brooklyn, where I lived, Brooklyn's gotten so gentrified. And Queens is what Brooklyn was, in my opinion. But it was just undiluted, fresh off the boat culture. So having caponata wasn't like, ooh, I'm having Italian food. It was Nikki's grandma made this, let's eat this. If I had kibbeh or shawarma, it was because the Sultan family were eating it. I was staying over to play video games or whatever, and I ate it. And my mom would exchange recipes with different moms, and so she'd be making an Italian dish one night or trying an Asian dish one night. And my dad had a law office in Chinatown, and that was super cool. And yeah, obviously, like coming from a Jewish background, you have like Central European, Western/Eastern European, depending upon which side of the family. My great granddad actually comes from Leeds, but there was no
which isn't known for its cuisine. Leeds.
You know what? I would normally have thought that until I went to Kirkgate Market and had the best oyster of my life. And some of the best food I've ever had.
I've got a little food potentially of your childhood, of your childhood here. Do you recognise that bread?
I ain't no challah back boy. The braided breads of my people. Yeah, challah, or as one might call it, the braided brioche.
And this?
Gefilte fish. And are those latkes?
They are latkes.
That's the thing that's kind of awesome about having worked in food and traveled like fork first, is that if I'm...
I like that. Travelled fork first.
Thank you.
You are more than welcome to eat.
Because I don't know what else we have, but I will definitely have a little bit of...
I mean, it's hands in.
Fine, that's fine. But I'm definitely going to need... I love that I have to keep changing the euphemism. It's not sanitizer, it's anti-bac here.
Is it? I don't use it.
That's some funky gefilte fish.
The latkes are good too.
I do love a latke. But gefilte fish... It becomes kind of the double helix of everyone's grandma's DNA. And I don't mean to make it precious, but like I have memories of my grandma talking about how my great-grandma, the one that married the guy from Leeds, very often like people would go to the market because you're not meant to do work on the Sabbath, and they would buy the fish live and they would be swimming in the bathtub. And then you would process them, and then you would use pike, carp, and you would take the bones and make like a soup or broth, and then matzah meal and sugar and different things. And it can be made savory as well and baked. But what was really remarkable, I'm a big architecture nerd, and I lived in the Twin Cities for a minute, and there was this beautiful carp statue, and like each time, by Frank Lloyd Wright, I believe it was Geary, I must remember that. Anyway, it was each tile was a pane of glass, and it was an homage to his mom making gefilte fish and having the fish in the tub every night, and everybody was like beholding it. And I was like, man, that's just for fish cakes. But the beautiful thing is that's like, fish balls in China, and kamaboko.
Yeah, I mean, there's similarities in all those foods.
Well, no, this is brioche.
Exactly, but it's good.
Is it?
Yeah, that's good. Let us break bread together.
Yeah, shall I do the prayer?
Yeah.
I have to have my mouth clear that I'm at communion.
You see, I went completely Catholic there. My hands went together straight away.
I'm fully Semitic and went, well. All right, so I say, take a bit. Normally you put a wee bit of salt on it, but we don't have to. Okay. That's lovely. Makes the best French toast.
Oh, yeah.
You can at me.
And good bread and butter pudding.
Oh, yeah. You call bread and butter pudding. Really?
You soak it in the egg wash.
Yeah, I thought it was bread pudding, but bread and butter pudding, I love that. Isn't it also...
Well, you butter the bread, then you pour the custard over, and then you bake it really slowly.
Oh, I love that. Like Pam Perdue. I love it.
But a big trough of it.
What's more fun than a trough?
Trough of butter and eggs and cream and everything. Right. Now,
no wonder the NHS is getting overworked.
Now, obviously, most people in this country will know you for your connection with food.
Of course.
But you started out life wanting to act, being within the theatre was your initial passion.
Right, it was medicine first. It was medicine.
Really?
And science. Yeah, I was a Westinghouse scholar, and was pre-med.
What happened?
Dude, you sound like every relative. You sound like my mom, my grandma. I just didn't love it. I was doing it because my family told me to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed to have a very smart extended family. My dad was an attorney. My dad and my mom met in law school. My mom ultimately became a teacher and assistant principal of school, guidance counselor. My dad was an attorney. But yeah, my cousins are lawyers. Another cousin works in finance, but she's married to a lawyer. It's quite a bit. And my uncle's a doctor. And yeah, I was like kind of told like job security and income security first. And then, when I was 9, I started doing some TV. It was a game show called Child's Play, where kids would define words and adults would have to guess them. Oh. And ironically enough, that was the same show that launched. So his real name was Chuck McCann. He goes by Jeff McCann. He goes by Jeff B. Cohen. He went on to play Chunk in Goonies.
Yep.
And now was a big entertainment lawyer, but he started on that show. And
sorry, Chunk from Goonies is now an entertainment lawyer?
A very successful. And in fact, Ki Hoi Kwan, who won the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, who played Short Round in Temple of Doom, he's his attorney. He even thanked him in his Oscar speech. He even said, "You're my Goonies brother forever." But and Jeff was clearly like a prodigy. I filmed one thing with him when we were kids. So I did that, went to performing arts camp, but was really kind of pushed away from even attempting it as a career because just percentage-wise, the odds of you making it are so slim. And I did science, and halfway through my undergrad, and I deliberately chose the undergrad I did because it was a pre-med factory. A lawyer in pre-med factory. I went to Emory in Atlanta, Georgia. And then halfway through, I switched to international studies and French, and then found out that one of the historically black college and university, Clark Atlanta, had a television station. And I started getting production experience so I could work for the 96 Olympic Games. And that was sort of the beginning of going, oh, there are other careers I could make in entertainment. And I was still doing stage and hustling, but I figured that was it, and sold my soul to the corporate devil for a minute, and then auditioned for. I did theater in New York and got a couple good notices, but then I did an apprenticeship at a big theater. I lived on food stamps for a minute, and and then I was going to give it up, and then my dad passed, and I remembered speaking to my stepmom, and I said, well, I guess I got to sort of let this go now and sort of be the man of the house. And she said, your dad wouldn't want you to do that. And I applied to Yale, and I got my master's from Yale in acting in 2003, and that's how I got my agents. And honestly, I started my food journal that got me Man vs. Food.
Kept a food journal since you were a kid, right?
No, since 95.
Every single meal?
Not every meal, but just about. And my phone now makes it easier because I can take a phone, it has the geo-positioning in it, and then I can just make notes. But I used to do it longhand. But I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't see any commerce in like gilding the lily. I had gone through a really rough breakup. I bought one of those blank Moleskine books to like write cheesy college breakup poetry. I fully admit it, because I thought like someone said, oh, you need to journal. And I still don't know if I have like the gumption to be like, dear diary, today was really, really rough.
I can't do it.
And I don't know if I can curse on this, but I don't.
Yeah, you can.
I don't anybody who does journal, who finds personal edification. I go for yours. So what happened was, did I mess up your mic? Okay. So the thing was, I went to a restaurant that sadly no longer exists called Virginia's. Excuse me, and I started just writing just about like the balls are blue, the this, whatever. Oh, they're playing Van Morrison's Astral Weeks. They're serving the Indonesian salad, gado-gado. They make homemade ice cream. And what was happening was, in between observations about the food or the experience of eating it, and I found that I was pretty facile. I've always been a pretty decent writer. My feelings and what was going on with me was kind of coming up between the food. And I found like, oh, okay, I love food and passion.
So where's the book? Where?
I've written two.
Yeah, no, but this book.
Well, for me, it's like, why do you buy the calf, you get the milk for free kind of thing? That, and some of it, to be fair, is fairly personal because there were things I like after my father died in '98, which was like being in a hurricane with nothing to hold on to. I just lost my stepmother very recently. I've unfortunately lost some friends along the way, in college or sometimes to like madness in the streets of Brooklyn. That again, it's one of those things of like, this was the first time coming back to this place without this person. And to be fair, I fully also copied this. It also became a compendium of knowledge to take girls on dates to places that every other like frat boy wasn't taking dates. So it's like, you're my college, everyone, there was a good chunk of the female population named like Lara, Tara, Farah, Mara, Dara, Shara. And, but it was cool because then, so for example, in Atlanta, I think people think everything is made with peach and it's barbecue and there's, hot water cornbread and biscuits. And that is there and it is phenomenal. But like Chambly, down the Buford Highway was a phenomenal Asian neighborhood. College Park had an incredible African, largely Nigerian neighborhood. And exploring those pockets of culture, or even for me as a Jewish kid from Brooklyn, I would go on drives and deliberately get lost on purpose. And I would end up at random church cookouts where you pay for a meat and three. And it was the best.
Because what I'm picking up listening to you talk is you are an inquisitive man in the extreme.
Yeah,
you want to delve deep. You want to go as far as you can.
I want to know more than I knew yesterday, rather, and I want to know more tomorrow.
What is it? Was it? Which of the Greek philosophers said, "I am a wise man because I know nothing"?
Was it Socrates?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Wise man knows what they don't know.
Yeah.
Or Operation Ivy, one of the seminal punk groups that I love. Their song Knowledge. All I know is that I don't know nothing.
Yeah. Well, we know who they nicked that from.
Socrates. Yeah. But they just did it with like bar chords.
So you come out of university, you get sort of small parts on Law and Order as an actor. You're kind of a jobbing actor, and then you end up sort of doing that for what, like 4 years or so, working in a lot of restaurants.
Working in a lot of restaurants.
Did you train as a sushi chef?
I did. So my stepmother paid for my, so I was supposed to go with my dad, and we'd always wanted to learn, and she paid for me to go through a course to learn how to make sushi. And then I think you guys have a great expression here in England. I sort of blagged it.
Yes.
To sort of just wheedle my way in, and because I was good
I do
enough,
that every day.
Yeah, I think to some degree we all, from politicians, hopefully pilots don't,
no.
But I think to a certain degree,
doctors
right?
Maybe no.
But it's one of those things like act as if, and it's one of those things like you got to act like you've been there before. Like don't walk into the VIP and go, ooh, just be, it's like what did Del Boy say? Be cool, Trig.
Yeah.
So I think to an extent, yeah, but I did. So I didn't get a chance to do it with my dad, but as a gift for getting into Yale, my stepmom paid for me to get that training and blagged my way into a bunch of jobs, and better sushi chefs than me taught me what I didn't know. And I know that there are masters of the craft. I recently filmed something back in New York with Nozomu Abe from Sushi Naz, and that guy is, I thought like my rice and my nori, because it's the truth, right? Normally, before you ever touch fish, for over a year, you're messing with rice. You're doing the oshibori, the hand towel, and there's a level of being humble to your art that the real, sushi masters have that is just...
Because everyone thinks like the Italians are passionate and serious about their food, but the Japanese way is so rigorous. And it was part of the inspiration for when I started this.
Is that right?
Well, because I wanted to just do as they do in Japan. It's like, Japanese people come here, or they go to a Nobu, or they go to a Rocker or something like that, and they look at the menu and go, you got sushi and rabata in the same restaurant? What's going on? So they just do one thing well. And that was the thing with Homeslice, just do pizza really well. Now, I want to see whether you think we've done it. I've got one of our pizzas for you to try.
All right, I'm gonna front load this and say, I am not predisposed to saying crappy things to anyone about their food, and it's not like I'll turn around and say it behind your back, But if someone goes out of their way to feed you, I think that like you're already starting at a 5.
Well, so
It looks beautiful, actually.
so before anybody comes on this show, Johnny, pass in this.
Just so I don't trip over the wires.
All right.
Here we will receive the bounty. Ooh,
So here we go. This is
beautiful.
So having read your little questionnaire before you came on, we've kind of covered it in as many things that you love. So we have our classic salami, rocket, and parmesan.
Oh.
So you love a bitter leaf,
I do, and I love this combination.
right? And that the salami on that is a proper ventroncino from central Italy.
Oh, stunning.
Our mozzarella or filo di latte comes direct from Naples twice a week.
Oh my goodness,
It's only
man.
San Marzano tomatoes. Then on this side, because I'm not Italian, I'm not held to any rules, right? So we have a little bit of a play around. So on this side, we have air-dried Wagyu beef with cipollini onions tossed in salsa verde, and then it's finished with just a little light truffle creme fraiche.
Oh my goodness. What a fantastic combination.
So let's slice this up and see what you think.
Where did your passion for Neapolitan pizza come from?
Well, it was about really, because I'd worked as a chef for a long time. And, you know, as I always say, I'm fine now. but
Relatable.
and it was that thing of when it came to sort of opening my own place up, I didn't want to do the whole fine dining thing. I didn't want to do cutlery and crockery and linen and all that kind of thing. What I wanted to do was take a ubiquitous thing that everybody thinks they know and just do it better. So I nearly opened a burger joint in about 2003.
Oh, is that right?
But then I ended up opening this in 2013. So the fact that the great Adam Richman is about to eat my pizza is a seminal moment in the history of.
You give me far too much
Homeslice.
credit, but I am deeply, deeply appreciative of the kindness.
So where are we going first? We're going classic first, or are we going avant-garde?
I want to do avant-garde, but I feel like I need to sort of work my way up. But this is just lovely. I love the leoparding. I was looking at it when he was dropping it, the leoparding on the. Here, I'll do it for your camera. That's beautiful. Did you study the art form of it? Like, did you go to Naples to learn it, or?
No, I blagged it.
There you go. Relatable. But I have to tell you that for me, especially throughout this series, when we find like a pizzaiolo or we find someone throughout Britain, and this isn't like trying to wheedle in a plug, I mean this in earnest, there's such beautiful like humility and appreciation of the art form they are studying. I love that we filmed with this great chef, and he went viral, a guy named Mimo, at a restaurant called Bella Vita in Glasgow, and he has an Italian Glaswegian accent.
Which is great.
Which is the craziest damn thing you've ever... So he'll be like talking to you, and it sounds like he's, Antonio Conte's translator, and he's like, we love the pizza, I make pasta alla chitarra, and the gnocchi, and these are my ragu. And he goes, and I put in the pork ribs and the beef ribs, and it's good. I really like it. I know you'll like it as well. And you're like, wait, what happened just now? Like, did I have a stroke, or did you just turn into Braveheart? Like, what happened? And he has a pizza called the Gil McTominay as an homage to Gilmore and McTominay, two good Scottish lads getting mad with it over on the pitch in Naples, and they're killing it. And he does a pizza with little meatballs and little balls of haggis. But again,
We had a haggis pizza at one point.
yeah,
And a black pudding one.
and that's the thing that I mean. Like, everyone like cries about breaking with tradition, and my stock response is hockey was traditionally played without helmets. It doesn't make it a good idea. So I love when people tell their own story through the food. I mean it in earnest. And I had a great pizza in a food hall directly across the water from Old Trafford just a matter of days ago. And again, this was a passion project. A guy tried this during the pandemic, started feeding his friends.
There are other pizzas.
Well, I'm not shitting on yours, and I'm not...
But the fact that you haven't eten that yet is nearly killing me.
I'm
Come
sorry.
on.
Come
on.
I'm sorry. I love your sauce.
It's just simple.
Was it like passata kind of thing?
So it's San Marzano. There's a little bit of chili in it. There's a little bit of garlic. There's a little bit of something else.
No, there's something else. Excellent. I also like the fact that there's a balance of the toppings. No, this is excellent.
Well, the whole point is, I don't think a pizza should be overfilled. Like those ones that come to your house from that well-known place that begins with a D, that's savory cake. That's not pizza, right?
Well, the thing that I love about this, and I hope your customers realize that it's not just, I want you to have the best ingredients, which is nice, and it's altruistic and it's kind, but I don't think people realize, A, how the hospitality industry was kneecapped by the pandemic. So to have any business still running is remarkable. But number two, by the way, the best thing about this, I have to say, what a brilliant idea to put that wee bit of chili in the sauce, because with 2 kinds of cheese and salami, it easily just becomes that super rich, waxy
It just
flavor.
gives it that warmth that comes through.
It's just that balance. It's really, really good. Like I'm sitting here.
Well,
like
I mean, to your point, a mixture of pandemic and Brexit and whatever. This Wagyu beef, a friend of mine makes this in Spain for me.
Is that true?
Yeah. And it used to arrive here, 2019, that arrived here at £27 a kilo, right?
Uh-huh.
He makes no more money off it, and it arrives here for £56 a kilo now. I mean, arguably, it doesn't belong on a pizza, but we think it does. But but it's an extraordinary product because he's Spanish, so he takes the briskets and he air dries them like the same as you would a pate negra ham.
See, but that's what I mean. Like, people don't realize, for you as a restaurateur, yeah, you want to have the best product. Yeah, you want people saying lovely things about your food. But I think it goes deeper. Like, people don't realize that the expense insuring a place like this, insuring your oven, insuring your workers, hiring your workers, and how hard it is to staff a restaurant post-pandemic.
Really hard.
That to then go a step deeper and incur import costs and tariffs and whatever. It's just the most remarkable thing. All right, this piece is call him a name.
That's got you written all over it.
It sure does.
Yeah,
That's a beauty.
There's
That's fine.
the tear.
There we go.
Have a go at the guy who cut it.
No, I love it. No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
So that is the
Is there a name for this one?
It's just the air-dried Wagyu beef with cipollini onions.
Well, it was just Wagyu beef. I'm so excited to eat this. And salsa verde.
Yeah.
What a great combo.
Well, you know, fillet beef and salsa verde, that classic Italian dish.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah. And then that little hint of truffle at the end.
Like the pop here for me is a cipollini. The idea that the crunch, I love when it's almost like trompe l'oeil, like you don't expect the crunch to come from certain things.
Well, it's always about, you know, I take the principle that if the flavors will go together on a spoon, they'll go on that. But you have to have that element, there's got to be an element of texture in everything that you do.
Well,
You know, I mean, obviously that's hard to achieve with a margarita, and if you can't make a margarita, you shouldn't be making pizza. But, you know, as you journey through the sort of different flavor experiences,
this is fantastic.
it's a great pizza, isn't it?
Usually when you know, beef or a lot of meat goes on pizza, it gets very leaden and pulls the whole thing down. But there's something about, maybe it's the perfuminess of the truffle, but I find like with greens or something, lemon can lift the dish in a beautiful way. We filmed in, is it called Grange Market in Newcastle?
Yeah.
And this sweet lady, whose name was, I kid you not, Cleopatra, makes a hot sauce, and it came to her in a dream. I am not kidding you. And she adds lettuce, like tons of lettuce to this hot sauce, and it's psychotic, and it breaks every rule, and you think it's going to water it down, but it takes this chili sauce from being just this mouth-coating
What do you think? She
death
blends it?
firebomb.
It
I watched her.
emulsifies.
She has a stick blender that looks like an RPG.
Yeah.
And like she said to us on camera, she's like, "Oh yeah, my boys say that if I don't make the sauces, they'll send me back to Greece." And I look past the camera and I go, "What's wrong with y'all? This is that to that mom. This is really great. Is this on the menu here?"
Yeah, yeah.
There I go to Homeslice. This is off the chain. This is terrific. And this also has the fior di latte?
Yeah. Fior di latte and then a British hard cheese called Godstone.
There's another cheese.
Yeah.
Called what?
Godstone.
Where is that made?
We get that through Neal's Yard Dairy.
But like regionally.
I couldn't tell you offhand, which is probably bad of me. But
No, it's fine.
we try and seasonally change our cheeses. Like we have a 4 cheese pizza, and we change the 4 cheeses
Is
on
that
it
right?
with the seasons. But working directly with Neal's Yard Dairy.
I think it's amazing. You know that's the number one most shoplifted food in Britain is cheese.
Okay, but I mean, are they really? They stealing artisan cheese, or are they just sticking
All
cheese
of it.
slices? The
mean-
most shoplifted.
It's cheese, and it's a very interesting phenomenon. We learned this in the first season. So, some supermarkets use milk as a loss leader because they know people need milk.
Well, nobody makes any money. Farmers don't make money out of milk. Nobody makes money out of milk.
And what's amazing is how they've pivoted, and a lot of them have turned to making artisan cheeses. We filmed season 1 of Adam Richman Eats Britain in an area called Chedzoy. So first of all, this was a big eye opener. I didn't know what we call chocolate milk, you lot call a milkshake.
Yes.
And there's a place that does it.
Well, when I was growing up, it was called Nesquik.
Oh yeah, well, is that a brand name?
Yeah, but I mean that was just a spoonful of something.
A powder.
Yeah, it's a powder.
Oh yeah, no. We
that
had
was
Nesquik.
milkshakes for us when I was growing up.
But milkshakes for us is syrup and ice cream and a blender. But there's a machine in Chedzoy. I can't recommend. I think it's a place that's called Milk from the Moors or Milk of the Moors. I got to tell you, and I have zero skin in the game. This is not a paid endorsement. The cows are maybe 10 yards away from the machine itself. You can get a cup or you can get a glass bottle. You can get just plain milk, skim milk, and then it took me a minute to learn that candy floss was cotton candy.
Yeah.
And then it took me another minute to go, why the fuck would anyone want that as a milk flavor? And then there was banana, strawberry, and chocolate. It was exquisite. And to see the ingenuity, how people pivot, it's that to me has been the most galvanizing thing of doing
At the end of the
show.
day, farmers want to keep doing what they do. They're farmers, but they have to diversify to keep it going. I mean, you can go the whole hog, like Jeremy Clarkson has done, and become a farmer, and then very adeptly put it on TV, which sort of guarantees it. But he doesn't make any money out of the farm.
Does he need it? I mean, come on.
Well,
It's
no,
Tessa.
obviously.
But let me
He
ask
doesn't
you
need-
this, if I may, because we were talking about this quite a bit during Adam Richman Eats Football. Duff Goldman, who does Ace of Cakes, we filmed at a wonderful place in Surrey called the Bailiwick. And I
Yep.
was speaking with the pâtissier, the pastry chef, and she loved him, and I FaceTimed him, and it was very sweet that he agreed to do it. And he said, and I deeply agree with it, that I think British dairy is probably the best in the world, and I include the eggs in that. I mean, these jammy orange yolks. I know
Oh,
that
the Clarence Court
There's
eggs.
Clarence Court, but then which is funny. So many chefs have been so mortified because they get even deeper with the artisanal eggs. Excuse me, but going through Somerset, and everybody was quoting the Wurzels to me, and I've got a brand new combine harvester.
It was a big hit.
Yeah,
It was a big hit when I was a young man.
Yeah, no, and like hearing people go, "Welcome to my farm. That over there is my tractor. Would you like some cider?" Like it's like, oh, that's a real thing. But
Yes, it
but from Somerset strawberries to having the cave aged cheddar in Cheddar Gorge, the cream. There's an amazing place. I cannot recommend this enough, chef. Cannot. It's a little place in the town is called it's called Langport. I believe it's just south of Taunton. And there's a place called the Little Bakery, and it's a woman named Mel and her daughters. And I am not like one that's like a quiche hound. I'm not anti-quiche, but it's something I seek out. And normally, when you're making pie crust, you need like more solid bits of fat so you can sort of get that flake. So her butter accidentally melted because of proximity to the stove. She said, screw it. And she makes this like 3-cheese onion jam quiche that I would confidently say is among maybe the top 5 things I've eaten lifetime. And here it is in just this little place in Langport. Like if a fly landed...
Closely followed, obviously, by your Wagyu beef pizza.
This
at
pizza is
Homeslice.
arguably one of the best and most creative I've had. I'm not saying this not because we're on this show. For me...
We'll take that.
No, I really do dig it. And I'm not saying it again. First of all, I like that there's like a nuttiness to whatever the other cheese you added.
Yeah.
That sort of complements very much what you might get with shaved Parmesan. But also, I love... I've had lots of pizzas where people freestyle and it does not work.
No.
And now I'm saying in America, and people try to just do the most, and then you're getting these cheeseburger pizzas and taco pizzas. This is like, to me, the reason why I love your food is because it's an exercise in balance and restraint, and that's what I think is the best stuff.
Less is more.
But also the quality of each individual. Look, I'm still eating it.
Yeah, good.
But
I do have plenty more food for you.
Here, I'll shut up. Yeah. Go for it.
But so you have done Adam Richman Eats Britain. You know, you're now eating football, which could be a bit chewy. No, let's get this out of the way.
I will admit.
But we'll put it over there for later.
You know, they always say you can't please everybody. You're not a pizza.
There we go. That's over there. But
yes, when it was funny when the title came out, I said it sounds like a headline from The Sun. Like they're gonna see me like just on like the Enfield training ground of Tottenham Hotspur with the word Spalding hanging out of my mouth. But no, it's exactly that. The way that in the first series I would have, I think I'm besotted with flour, I'd have cheddar and cheddar, sandwich and sandwich, a Bakewell tart and Bakewell. Now, rather than making my menu, I make the match my menu. And so the idea is every football club has an edible culture around it, whether it's a place fans go, fans own, fan is a chef. It's reflective of the culture in that area. And I think that's the coolest. So to talk about West Ham United and to talk about the East End of London means you have to talk about pie and mash. Yeah. And going to a place like G. Kelly's is like an inexorable part, or Jellied Eels, you know, that kind of thing is it's cool to me. It's like taking,
because it's interesting. I think it's a really interesting take on the sort of food show, because in this country, football and what you eat at going to football before football is an integral part of the whole sort of ceremony of going to football.
I love that you use that word. It is ceremony. I was telling my mom about it. It's like sacrament. Having a curry, having a kebab, having your pie and mash. You know, when we went to Birmingham, everyone would say, "Oh, you're in the Balti Triangle now, buddy. Like, you better." And the civic pride that is commensurate with trying a local dish is next level.
Because now that you have experienced the many facets of British food, has your opinion of British food changed?
To be fair, I understand, you know, the quote I always go back to is from Heraclitus, dogs bark at people that do not know. People believe there's like this perpetuated thing of everything being boiled and beige and bland or fried. Now, there is a lot of that, but the most popular dish in the country is chicken tikka masala.
Well, no, it turns out now,
what is it now?
Recent study, spaghetti bolognese.
Okay.
Yeah. Which you would never get in Italy, because they would never put a meat sauce with a spaghetti. They'd put it with a flat spaghetti. Like a tagliatelle, they'd put it with a flat pasta, because they would believe that the spaghetti wouldn't hang, the meat wouldn't hang on the spaghetti properly.
I see, and again, and this is a beautiful thing about having conversations like this with chef. It's the truth. Like, why do penne have those ridges to catch the sauce? Or why, to me, radiatore is the single best mac and cheese pasta in the world? But, you know, the thing is, for me, I have learned, and I feel if I'm humble to that which I am learning, and I'm respectful of my guests, yourself included, I'll learn more. I learn more right now in this conversation about British Bounty and Godstone cheese and things like this, or how easy or expensive it is to get Wagyu. And that's my point. That for people in Aberdeen, Angus is the steak they order, but it is a delicacy elsewhere. The Bakewell tart and Bakewell pudding. You know, I've seen it on Gogglebox, and I always thought they had these really cute little cupcakes with little red cherry on it. And then to go and to see how it's made, and to see tourist coaches pull up to see this.
And it's a pie in Bakewell. It's not even a tart.
Well, they make both. At Ye Old Bakewell Pie, they have we're going to Melted Mowbray. Now, again, the meat pie is not something prevalent in America. I mean, we have like the pot pie, which is essentially like uranium inside a pie crust. Like, you open it and it will seriously like melt through the table. But, you know, again, okay, so the pie is a perfect example, or even the sausage roll. We just filmed in Newcastle, and someone foisted a Greg's sausage roll on me.
Whoa.
And I was like, ooh, that is beige. It's being respectful, though. Like, it's not my taste, and it doesn't have to be. Part of it is watching someone try something watching the American try Bovril or Marmite and going, ooh, is he going to like it? Is he not? There's a spirit out of Chicago called Malort. And their campaign ultimately became, let's see your Malort face. And people take photos.
Sounds like a skin condition.
Look it up. Look up Malort face. And these are like some marquee Michelin chefs, and they're all like, but going a step further, right? The regional differences in accents in this country is a clear indicator of how the food changes. So we just wrapped up the show, or just close to wrapping up the show in Liverpool. And so you go scouse and you go deeper into Viking lobscouse, but then you realize salt and pepper chicken is actually like more Liverpudlian than even scouse itself. And then going even deeper and now seeing how chefs at the restaurant Madre is doing a pig head and doing wonderful salsas and pickled veg and escabeche and great tortillas. And, you know, and you're finding people that take profound pride in either their football club or in their local produce, Shetland mussels and different fish from the Hebrides. And again, I feel the food in England and in Scotland, it's way unfairly maligned because I think even my fellow Americans sadly think that everyone's just like tossing cavers, wearing kilts, eating deep fried Mars bars and haggis.
Okay, so here's the question then.
Hit it.
The killer question.
I'm all for it.
American food or British food, which is better?
I mean, I grew up on American, so I'm biased because I better. It's such a subjective thing. I think that one could say, well, you know, this is better here or that's better there. You know, it's one of those like The Godfather, you never go against the family. But I think, I mean, it depends, right? And that's the thing that I'm learning doing these shows. That I used to say, well, America's very regional. Well, I get in New England and you can get chowder and steamers and fried clams and Ipswich clams. And yes, we have an Ipswich too. And then you go to Florida, you're getting key lime and gator tail and fresh catch from the Gulf. Going to Texas, it's one kind of barbecue. You know, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, different kind of barbecue. St. Louis, different kind of barbecue. California's got its own thing going on. But that's what I hope more people do. And I'm going to obviously retweet this and repost this. And is that I hope more Americans, when they come, explore the capital. There's great restaurants here and great food here, great.
Well, I think it is that, you know, as a result of certainly here and definitely in the States as well, it's the immigration melting pot that creates the cuisine.
Of course.
You know, we always never had to have a cuisine because we had great produce. We had great beef. We could grow really nice vegetables, so we didn't need to do anything with them. And then, as a result of the empire and the Commonwealth and all that, the people came here and introduced different things.
Of course. But I'm saying that I don't think most Americans, unless they had a reason to go, oop, north, haven't had Yorkshire Parkin. But when you get a good one, it's spectacular.
Oh, with cheese?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Parkin with cheese.
Whoa.
Amazing. Yeah.
But also like a Lindisfarne oyster, which I had at Kirkgate Market. That's Northumbria?
Yeah.
But then again, all right, so the first episode we filmed of last season was in Kent, the Garden of England.
Yep.
So A, didn't know about it. B, having a sandwich is what an American might do, but a Whitstable oyster, spectacular. Like, and that's what I hope more people do through these shows, is to go, wow, there is a proper bounty here. And whether it's Norfolk asparagus or Cornish crab, like that, there is just such unbelievable things. There are such unbelievable things to experience. But I know you got a lot of questions, so let me shut up.
Well, you are all about changing opinions.
Best I can.
And that is the whole premise of this. So we have got to that time in proceedings where I am going to
Blindfold me.
ask you to don the blind. We didn't think this through, by the way.
I love the match.
You know, I didn't know this was going to match today.
Oh, we love an animal print.
But there we go.
Oh, it is giving. Is giving Cher after the Oscars. I love this.
So if you would don the blindfold,
I will.
and we will begin.
I will don it. It is
your first spooning.
You know that there's a restaurant in Los Angeles where it's completely dark. And
there's one here in London as well.
Is it good or is it ridiculous?
The food is good, but it's a weird experience.
I feel I'd end up like putting broccoli in my nose.
Right, I am going to feed you. Okay, so you this. So here is your first dish, and I'm just gonna do a little delicate spoon of this for you.
God, I feel so vulnerable.
That's the point.
Okay, I can hear it crunching through something.
There we go. Open wide. What flavors? What textures are you getting? Is it enjoyable? It's cooked by my own hand, Adam. What have we got there for you?
Crispy, and then it reminded me almost of like the fatty bit of like a lamb chop.
What could it be? It was on your list of one of your favorite things.
Here in England?
Just in general.
Crispy, a little bit of fatty there.
Take the blindfold off. I did your roasted bone marrow.
Oh, God, delightful. Delightful. So good. And you did a wonderful job. And it's not fat, it's denatured protein. What did you put on top?
So that's just sourdough, parsley, anchovies, and garlic.
You threw me off, but I'm happy you threw me off. That's spectacular.
Just that little bit of extra oomph with the anchovy in there.
Was that ever find its way onto a pizza?
We have done a bone marrow pizza before.
I find like things like bone marrow, Brussels sprouts, kale, like they got like a good agent in the early 2000s. You know, it's funny, in America, one of the biggest purchasers of kale used to be Pizza Hut to line the salad bar, not in the salad bar.
Yeah, just to
that's
line it.
delightful. I do love it.
I mean, kale is challenging. I mean, I don't understand it. Like, I'd never thank you for a kale Caesar salad. Just give me a Caesar salad.
You don't like a Caesar salad?
I love a Caesar salad, but I don't want it made with kale. I want it made with romaine or iceberg or baby
you don't
like
the chewiness or just even the psychological palliative effect of
well, it's
doing
that
it.
thing. You've got to kind of blanch it and refresh it and just take a little of the out of it. It's got a slightly leathery element to it. I love it, like braised in butter. Kale braised in butter, but then what isn't improved by braising it in butter?
You have a fair point, right?
Well, from something important to something not as important.
Yeah.
But it is your time for your second spoon.
Ooh!
So, if you wouldn't mind popping back on
the
delightful leopard
sexy
print.
leopard print, yes, sir. Ooh, I feel like Long Island medium, even though I'm a Brooklyn XL. Hey.
There we go.
This is not working. Wait, am I just? Dude,
it's Velcro.
It's Velcro.
It's Velcro.
Yeah, this technology's been around for. Oh, it's twisted.
Yeah,
that's why.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Is it on? Is it secure?
It is. See it, say it, sorted. We're good to go.
Okay. So here's your second and final spoon.
Okay, thank you, sir.
A lot of love has gone into this, and I'll explain why when you try it. Open wide. Here we go.
Oh!
It was a bigger spoon. Sorry, I should have warned you. What have you got there? Flavors, textures. Give it all.
Oh, it's delicious. Okay. Similar to a New York cheesecake, but not. And I know what it is, and I can't. I don't know why I'm having a brain block. Delicious. Custard, like a creme caramel.
No, you had it at cheesecake. You had
did
it at
I?
cheesecake. Yeah, take it off. So
it's Basque.
That is my wife's Basque cheesecake with a licorice syrup. And you said you hate licorice.
I didn't even taste licorice. I do. Black licorice is the food of the devil.
Well, that is a black licorice syrup with that.
I didn't suss it out. Like, I don't mind fennel. I have endured shots of Akavit and Galliano. But yeah, I don't know. Are you into? Because like
I think licorice has its place. I think everything has its place.
I judged an episode of Iron Chef with Nigella, and she loves that chocolate and licorice thing, which is so prevalent in Iceland.
Yeah.
And it killed me because
the Swedes like that as well.
Latkes, Lakris, and a bunch of like licorice flavored chocolate. And I guess this is the thing. I'm not trying to yuck your yum, but your yum may not be my yum. And that's the balance with this show, with things like jelly deals or whelks, which I loved. Jelly deals I'm still working on.
They're challenging.
But again, gefilte fish is, and I'll never forget, this for Dad. Like I said, he had a law office in Chinatown, so he would oftentimes do law for, first generation Asian immigrants that couldn't afford like a big white shoe lawyer, because my dad was a deeply educated guy and he had his own firm. And we went to a dim sum place and you were seeing chicken feet, Kunjio blood sausage, things like this. And every culture's got, there's morcilla, there's sundae, whatever, blood pudding. And I was like, my dad stopped me. He said, you don't have to finish it. You need to try it. You always need to be respectful, because how many people would try what mommy makes and say, yuck? And I'm like what? He's like, chopped liver. I'm like, chopped liver's fucking awesome, dude. Like, and now pate, but it's the truth. And I had some chopped liver recently here in London that was atrocious. Gefilte fish. It's definitely an acquired taste. It's definitely something that if you don't know it, you haven't grown up with it. My friend Andrew Pastides, his dad was the president of the University of South Carolina, fabulous actor. I invited him over for a Passover dinner, and he was so game and so cool, willing to try everything. And it's still odd, but a willingness to try it and not malign it. So I was blessed that as mentors, I had Andrew Zimmern and Tony Bourdain, right? And I asked Andrew, I said, how do you eat, porcupine taint and panda groin and all this stuff? And he said, because just off camera, this whole village is watching, and there's a mother holding their child back, and this is more food than they'll see in a week, and they're giving this to you. So he's drank like blood directly out of an ox with the Maasai. So when we filmed in Mexico and they gave us chapulines, which are fried grasshoppers, escamoles, which are ant larvae, it's made with love. It's actual sustenance, and it's just not to my taste because it is not within my purview of experience. And I think that with this show, that's exactly what I want to do. That this isn't about wearing Stone Island and oi, 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 and having a bit of a bounty after the match. It's not that. It is about London cabbies, diehard Chelsea fans in one of those green huts on Warwick Avenue, making great bread, serving people who sometimes don't have families anymore to cook for them, sense of community, or going to Best Mangal right outside in the Fulham Road, and Gigi, who was a former winger for QPR, is now making specific Anatolian dishes. And at the end of the day, they're all trying to keep asses in seats, bodies coming in the door, and doing it the right way with good food first. And I just hope that people come and they, A, explore more than just the capital, and B, when they go to Liverpool, that there's more than just scouse. When you go to Newcastle, there's more than just peas pudding. And there's a vibrant culinary scene that deserves respect, from Chapter in Birmingham to Etch and Hove. There's a lot out there. It's pretty awesome.
Well, keep traveling.
Thanks, brother.
And keep eating.
Thank you, my brother.
A massive thank you to Adam Richman. As we mentioned, his show, Adam Richman Eats Football, it starts 10 p.m, 2nd of December on the Food Network, and you can stream it on Discovery Plus. That is all for this week's Spooning with Mark Wogan. You can get this episode wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And until next week, stay beautiful.